Section 2.2 Interactive Assignment Objective 2. The following data represent the number of potholes on 35 randomly selected 1-mile stretches of highway around a particular city. We're going to complete parts A and B. First, part A, construct a frequency histogram of the data. So, the value of each category of data, being the number of potholes, is going to be on the horizontal axis down here below. And the frequency or the relative frequency will be on the vertical axis. And we're going to draw rectangles of equal width centered at the value of each category. So for example, the first rectangle is going to be centered at 1. So for the frequency histogram, the height of the rectangle is the frequency of the category. For the relative frequency histogram, the height is the relative frequency of the category. And remember that in a histogram, the rectangles touch. So, in this particular example, we want to first find the frequency distribution. So, you're going to have to create your table to make sure that you create your frequency distribution so that you're able to make the histogram. So, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. For 1 pothole. For 2, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then for 3, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For 4, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For 5 of them, we have 1, 2, 3. For 6, we have 1, 2, 3. And then for 7, we have 1, 2, and then 3. Okay, so again, doing this by hand here in this case, we're going to create our histogram. And remember that we're creating rectangles where it's centered at the number below on the horizontal axis. So for 1, we're going to create a rectangle that goes all the way up to 11. And again, the value of 1 is going to be in the middle. Okay. The next value is 5. And remember that the rectangles touch. So for 2, we're going to start here at 5. So we have a rectangle at 2 where, again, 2 is in the middle. Okay. And then for 3, we also have 5, so that's also going to be in the middle there. And then for 4, we also have 5, so therefore there is the one for 4. And then for 5, we have 3, so there's the rectangle for 3. And there's the next rectangle for 6. And there's the rectangle for 7. Okay. So now let's go back and take a look at the questions to determine which one does our histogram represent. So if we take a look at the first one, part A, we can see that doesn't match our histogram. The second one doesn't match. If we look at C, this one doesn't match, but it looks like it's D. So D looks like the one that we have here that matches the histogram. So let's go ahead and check that. And then check our answer. And then there we have it. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to construct a relative frequency histogram of the data. Okay, so first and foremost, we know that we have a total of 35 potholes. But let's just check that we have the correct amount for our total. So again, we're going to take our calculator here and then just take 11 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 to give us 35. Okay, so recall that we're going to take each value and then divide it by 35 for the relative frequency histogram. So I'm going to take 11, divide that by 35. I'm going to take that 5, divide that by 35. And then likewise, we're going to take 5, divide that by 35. 5, divide that by 35. And then 3 divided by 35. 3 divided by 35, and then 3 divided by 35. So let's do 11 divided by 35, which gives us 0. And it says you want to round to 3 decimal places, so 0.3142. So 0.3142, and then we want to round it. This is our rounding digit. This is our testing digit. So that gives us 0.314. Okay, and then we're going to take 5 and then divide that by 35, and we get 0.1428. So 0.1428. This is our rounding digit. This is our testing digit. So we're going to round up to get 0.143. And it's going to be the same for the next two, 0.143. Okay. Now we're going to take a look at 3 divided by 35. So 3 divided by 35 gives us 0.857, 0.0857. So we're going to, the rounding digit is 5, the testing digit is 7, so we're going to round up to 0.086. So 0.086, 0.086, and 0.086 is also for the 6 potholes and 7. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to create our relative frequency histogram. Now recall that the value of the number of potholes is at the bottom. And in here we can see that the numbers change from 0 to 0.4 because that is the values of our relative frequency. So starting with 1, if we take a look at this as 2 decimals, this ends up becoming approximately 0.3. So just above 0.3. So that means for 1, we're going to go all the way up to approximately there for 0.1. Okay. And then for 2, 0.14, so that's about in between 0.1 and 0.2. So just right below the 1.15 mark. So that is for 2. It's also for 3. And it's also for 4. And then for 5, it's approximately 0.086, which is about 0.09. So right below the 0.1. So there we have that. There. And it's the same for the 7 as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at our options here. So for A, it doesn't match. For B, it doesn't match. We can see that for C, it looks very close. You can see our relative frequency and the histogram is the same. So let's select C, and there is our answer.